All right, so Royal Ascot is in about 2 weeks' time, and it's one of the biggest meetings in the world. It's got a real international crowd of runners this year with horses from Japan, Australia, America, you name it. So in this video, I'm going to be making a few predictions about Royal Ascot. I'm not going to be going through the meeting like race by race. I will do a video on it when it gets closer, but I'm just going to make a few long-range predictions that might come to fruition. So it's a bit like a bingo card type thing that I'm doing in this video. So we'll start off with my first one. Jolie Star is the biggest moral of the meeting, I think. You could say Boeco is, because obviously he won the 2000 Guineas so well, but that race is looking really competitive that he's in, with the likes of Gastard, who won the Irish 2000 Guineas, and Talk of New York, who's going to be called Tony, because it's a bit shorter. But he won very well at Sandown the other week, so I think his race is more competitive. Jolie Star, she's one of the best sprinters in Australia. She's been at the very top for a long time. I think she's a 6-year-old now, and I just think she just wins here. To be honest, in the past, Australian sprinters have done amazingly at this meeting. Even the lesser sprinters in Australia have come out and won here. Most notably Asphora as of late in the last few years. She won the King's Stand 2 years ago and then won the Nunthorpe last year and the Abbaye in Paris. So Australians have a really good track record in these sprints. Even before Asphora, we had the likes of Black Caviar. Obviously, she was a champion. We had Nature Strip, who was at the twilight of his career, arguably. And won his race. I believe it was the King's Stand, and he won by like 4 lengths. And then you've got, horses like Merchant Navy, who was a really elite Australian sprinter. Coolmore buys him, and then he wins the Jubilee. I think he won a race in Ireland beforehand. So yeah, as I've made clear, the Aussies just clean up in the sprints, and this horse is an absolute superstar. She's won basically every big sprint in Australia, bar the Everest. She's won the Newmarket Handicap, which is a notoriously hard race to win. And she won the TJ Smith Stakes last time out, which is one of our marquee sprint races. So I think she'll come here and win. Her only competition is Satono Rev, who, he's very good and he's better than all the UK sprinters, but he's not beating a horse like Jolie Star, is he? He won that race in Japan, and then I think he came second or third to Kaying Rising last start, but Jolie Star's a different beast, I think. And then in that race, you've got the likes of Lugal, who's another Japanese horse. I think Comanche Brave is high up in the market. He's had a pretty international campaign, but none of these are going to really pose a threat to Jolie Star. And I think on Sportsbet it's $2.90. That's amazing value, because I think she's going to go off odds even, or she's going to be like $1.80 or something. So, or she might be evens. I don't know, but I feel like this is a good price for her. And I think she's the biggest moral of Royal Ascot in 2026. All right, we'll move on to the next one. Scandinavia. Now, by Justify, I think a lot of us knew what he was about in the Queen's Vase at Ascot last year, where he was posted about 4 wide for the majority of the trip. And it's 2,800 metres. It's a long way to be posted wide. And he came flying home down the outside. And then after that, he went and won the Goodwood Cup as a 3-year-old. No normal horse, or no horses win that race as a 3-year-old. It's a really, really tough staying contest, the Goodwood Cup, over 2 miles, Group 1, and he wins. Not many 3-year-olds do that. I think Stradivarius might have done that, but that's a really rare thing to do for a 3-year-old to win that. And then he wins the St. Ledger afterwards. And I actually think that Scandinavia, you can kind of tell in his races, he's not a dominant horse. He just does enough to win. He's very workmanlike. But I think he's going to win this Gold Cup, especially with Trawlerman not having the ideal preparation going into the meeting. So I think it makes this a much more open race. Obviously, you've got the likes of Caballo de Mar, who's very progressive, won that Group 1 in France last start. And I'd say a few others will come from that race to the Gold Cup. But I think, to be honest, Scandinavia, this is a really far-fetched sort of take, but I think he's going to be the most Group 1s for a Ballydoyle horse in history, because he's already won the Goodwood Cup, the St. Ledger, and Kyprios currently holds that record for Ballydoyle, and he was the same sort of profile, running these ultra tough stamina testing long distance races. So I think Scandinavia is going to retire as the most Group 1s for a single Ballydoyle horse, to be honest, and he's going to win the Gold Cup, I think. Maybe a month ago I would have said Trawlerman, because he's just an absolutely like bulletproof 4,000 meter sort of horse. But he hasn't had the ideal preparation, and I think Scandinavia is going to win, and he's going to go on to be, a real superstar over the staying distances in the future. And he'll probably run in those, Goodwood Cup. Might run in the Cadran at Longchamp on Arc Weekend, British Long Distance Cup, those sorts of races. So I think he's going to be a real superstar going forward, Scandinavia. All right, we'll move on to the next one. Rahib. Now, he's a very interesting horse. He's the full brother to Huckham. I think he won a King George, and then Bade, who, he won basically every race. So, Rahib is bred to be an absolute star. And I was looking at, his siblings, and all of them are like minimum listed level. Like they're all, very talented. And I think this horse is going to be really good going forward. He won the Sandown Classic Trial, and I believe he pulled up with a few niggles. So, they're not going to go to the Epsom Derby. They're going to go either to the Irish Derby or this race. But I think this race, because, it's a Royal Ascot, it's a step up in grade, Group 2 level. And I think he's going to win this really well. I think, at Sandown, he looked really good. I don't know, he's just got that aura about him. He's got that sort of, he's going to love a mile and a half. And I think he's going to be a real force going forward as a 3-year-old. I think he's going to win this King Edward. It's going to be like, sidling up, and he's just going to win, and everyone's going to say, oh, this horse would have won at Epsom. Because I've actually got a few interesting takes about Epsom, which I'll release later this week. But yeah, I think Rahib is probably one of the best 3-year-olds in Europe at the moment, to be honest. Even though, he might be a little bit unproven, but I think he's got, he's got the pedigree to be an absolute star, and he's going to win the King Edward at Ascot. And, really stamp himself as one of the top dogs in the 3-year-old division. We'll move on to the next prediction of mine. Now, as I'm, obviously Australian, I have a bit of a bias towards the Aussie horses, but I actually think Overpass, who is trained by Björn Baker, Australian trained, he's won a shitload of money. He's won a bunch of slot races in WA, which are worth like millions to the winners. But I actually think he's going to get rolled in the King Stan Stakes, or the King Charles Stakes is what it's called now. Because, this horse hasn't run over 5 furlongs in years. Like, all of his previous form was over 6 furlongs. I believe there was a race over 7 furlongs, but I think this horse, he's a bit older as well. He's 7 years old. I think he's going to get rolled by, like, Knight Raider, or we're going to see a massive upset in the King Charles Stakes. Last year we saw American Affair do it, which wasn't that far-fetched, because he ran very well in his prior start, but I think this is a really open race, and I think one of these UK horses, although everyone shits on the UK sprinting division, I think one of these UK horses is gonna win. It could be like Rosie Affair, who won at Haydock the other week. But yeah, obviously Knight Raider's the top pick. He comes out of that Temple Stakes, one of the main lead ups for this race, and he looked pretty good. And also Watnan, they always fucking come alive at Ascot every year. So yeah, I think Overpass. There's a lot of hype behind the Aussie sprinters, but I think Overpass is going to get beat, probably by Knight Raider. So very, very interesting race. And also about Overpass too, they would have ran him in the other race, the Jubilee, but they don't want to run him against Jolie Star, I don't think, because Jolie Star's going to beat him 9 times out of 10. That's why I think they're going to this race instead. But we'll continue to my next prediction of this meeting. This is going to be one of the main talking points going into this festival, or this meeting, whatever you want to call it. The Prince of Wales Stakes, 2,000 metres, one of the best races in Europe, or the world, for that matter. Ombudsman versus Darriz. You could throw Mini Hawk in there if you ride off her last race. And then you've got some others, I think, like... Oh, who's even in that race? I'm not too sure. I think Gethin, who came second the other day, he's going to the Eclipse. But essentially, it's going to be Ombudsman versus Darriz. And I think Ombudsman's going to go past Darriz like he's tied to the fence, I reckon. This horse loves Ascot. He's a real staying sort of 2,000 metre horse. I actually thought like earlier in his prep this year, they would have gone for the Shima Classic in Dubai rather than the Dubai Turf. But that kind of proved to me that he's sharp and he can sprint. And I just think this horse is better than Darriz. I know Darriz won the Arc and he's been cleaning up in these like French Group 1s lately, but I don't know. I always rate UK form a lot higher than French form, and Ombudsman won very well at Sandown the other day. Carrying a penalty and beating a horse like Gethin, who some people were backing for the Arc last year. Like, some people actually thought, if he could get in at a big price. Gethin's very talented. He's been, one of those sort of prospect sort of horses for a long time now. And Ombudsman beat him carrying a penalty. I just think this horse is just so good. Ombudsman. I know William Buick hasn't been really like riding the house down lately, but I don't know. I just think this horse is really elite, and he won the race really, really well last year. Now he's a 5-year-old. This is probably the best he'll ever be, and I think with a really hot pace too, because I'd imagine Ballydoyle will run some sort of like a pacemaker in there somewhere. I think this hot pace is gonna relish it like we saw in the Juddmonte International last year. Even in the Champion Stakes, he got gunned down by Calandigan, so I think Ombudsman's going to beat Darius and show levels at Royal Ascot in the Prince of Wales Stakes. We'll move on to the next one. I've only done a few here. I won't go on all day, but this one's actually good. So I think obviously James McDonald, who is the best jockey in Australia, one of the best in the world, he's going to be riding Jolie Star at Royal Ascot. But I remember last year he was the second string jockey for the Watnan horses behind, obviously, James Doyle, who rides, the best Watnan horses. And we did see last year, James McDonald won the Duke of Cambridge Stakes, which is the Group 2 mile for the fillies and mares. He won it on Crimson Advocate, who I was actually on because J-Mac was riding it. And I remember James Doyle was on Fallen Angel in that race. And I think we're going to see a similar thing this year where James Doyle picks like the wrong one. I think it might happen in a 2-year-old race, to be fair, because obviously Watnan, they usually have a fleet of 2-year-olds going into Royal Ascot, and I think it might happen in like the Queen Mary Stakes, because obviously they've got Wild Blossom, who looks amazing, and they're running one this week called Terminology, who is running at Nottingham, and there's some sort of idea that she's going to go to this race, the Queen Mary, after her debut, if she runs well. So I could see a world where J-Mac rides one of them and wins over James Doyle. And obviously they do like a little fist bump thing after the winning post, like Ryan Moore and Christophe Soumillon the other day in the French Derby, like a cold little like little celebration, I guess. But yeah, I could definitely see that happening. And my last prediction for this Royal Ascot video is Ryan Moore brushes Matt Chapman in every instance after Ballydoyle sweep the 2-year-old races. Obviously, Ballydoyle just like have a bit of a hold on these 2-year-old races like the Coventry Stakes, the Norfolk, the Albany, those sorts of races. So I think Ballydoyle's going to win a lot of them. Obviously, their 2-year-olds look amazing this year, as they do every year. They've got the likes of Great Barrier Reef, Carry the Flag, Sun Goddess, who won very impressively the other week. I was very impressed with Sun Goddess. But yeah, I could see Ryan Moore just business as usual, like walking back to the the jockey room, and Chapman comes up to him with the mic, and he's just like, he like mumbles something, or tells him to fuck off. I don't know. No, he wouldn't say that. He would never say that. But like he just like gives him like a 2-word answer. I could see him doing that over and over again as Ballydoyle keep winning these 2-year-old races, and obviously they'll win other races as well during the Royal Ascot meeting. So yeah, obviously, as I said before, I will do a more of a deep dive into these races at Royal Ascot. But yeah, if you like this sort of thing, just like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. And also my last video on the French Derby did so much better than all my other videos. So I appreciate the support. If you haven't, just subscribe, that sort of thing. And I'll see you later.